All righty. Happy Sunday, everybody. Here we go. We got it worked out. Keith is here with us. Jamie's saying hi to Keith already. Let's see. Jamie, I want to set you as moderator for this morning for sure. All right. Liking before it even starts, like a boss. Way to go. Thank you. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. So we got a great guest today. Keith, what's your last name, Keith? I've seen it before. Oh, I think, are you muted? Oh, Westley, Keith Westley. So Keith is one of the main developers on xLights. Is that fair to say? Okay, there you go. Yes, I'm all dressed up. That's right. So we had church this morning. You can't hear him? Oh, we'll fix that. We'll fix that. Okay. Now you can probably hear him.
Only if I say something.
There you go. What did you guys hear? Did you hear anything? I also had it turned down because Frank's microphone is really loud. Yeah, looking sharp. So here's how today's going to play out. And I actually have it in the calendar this time, fellas. I had to spend a couple minutes updating the calendar so that we could plan out the next 2 days. Okay, good. Now they can hear you. All right. So this is how the next couple days are going to go. I've got the streams here in the calendar. So we're going to do this stream right now. We've got Keith. We're going to talk about xLights, but specifically xSchedule and Home Assistant and those two communicating with each other. And then anything else that Keith wants to teach us about xSchedule or xLights would be great. But we probably only have about an hour, hour and a half. And then I've got to run because my oldest boy, this is going to be cool news, my oldest boy is getting ready to get his Eagle Scout award. And so he's got his board of review and they invited the parents. And so we're going to go to that and that's at 12:30. So we're going to be done by then. Gives us an hour. Should be pretty good. And then I'll be back on at 2 o'clock. So we'll be off for an hour and a half and then back on. And then at 2 o'clock, Rob from the Hookup is going to be on and we're going to do Node-RED. So it's interesting. Rob said he was texting me this morning. He said he's putting together another video for Node-RED to teach Node-RED. And he says has been using it for a long time. It's hard to think about it like a new user. And so he wants to come on and get some new user input. So that'll be awesome. And then tomorrow morning, as if it's not enough, tomorrow morning, Quindor from Intermit Tech is going to be on we're going to do it about 11 o'clock tomorrow, my time. So about the same time as this, same time tomorrow. And we're going to do the Quinn LED Dig Uno board. We're going to build one of those. So it's a kind of a add-on board for a D1 Mini to run RGB LEDs with some good components. And then the next day, which is Christmas Eve, this time again, and we'll just do a bit of freestyle. We'll just kind of go over whatever. We'll just kind of have fun. We'll listen to Christmas music and just party for a little while that day. So that's the plan, okay? And it's all here on the calendar. If anybody wants to go to DrZzs.com, click that calendar, you can get it. All right. So Keith, thank you for being here.
All good.
So tell us now, I didn't realize you also do something live like this on a regular basis, right? Can you tell us about that so we can make sure that gets some attention from...
So yeah, there's a bunch of events, but the xLights community gathers in the xLights Zoom room, and you found the link yesterday on the xLights homepage. So at this time of year, there's people in there all the time. There's people in there right now, typically helping people get their displays set up. But during the year, there's not people in there all the time. People actually do have lives. But they do gather, at least in the US, they gather on Wednesday nights at, I think it's 8 Eastern. And during the year, they run training sessions. So you saw those xEssential videos yesterday on, if you go to the videos section on the xLights page, they're all there. Someone each week gets on and presents about something. And it's not always Christmas related. There's Halloween stuff. There's a lot of stuff on building props, videoing displays, sorting your audio issues out, you name it. There is pretty much a video on everything there. The xEssentials lights are very short videos. Those aren't actually recorded in the Zoom room. They're made by people on specific topics. But the main existential topics are typically presented on a Wednesday night, and people get in, you listen to it, and then at the back end of it, they natter for a few hours. Unlike this, it's more of a multi-way conversation. They also have the ability to set up rooms. So particularly at this time of year when it's really busy, they'll often have rooms going and they'll push people into separate rooms for certain issues.
Awesome.
So it works really well. Around the world, in Australia, they tend to gather at, again, 8 Eastern, Sydney time, in the same Zoom room. And that tends to be a little bit more casual, somewhat more abusive. It's a much more colourful conversation. And I believe the UK guys gather on I believe it's their Thursday night. I don't know the exact time, but if you contact James, James Inners at I can't remember what his site's called. But anyway, he sells a whole bunch of stuff over there, but he also kind of facilitates their Zoom call on a Thursday evening for the Europeans.
Cool. Well, there's certainly plenty of help to be had, so that's great. You guys have quite the community full of support all around xLights, so that's really awesome. So thanks for doing that. All right, so here's what I was hoping to work on today, since we have you here. The other day when you were on in the chat, we kind of worked on MQTT, and we did some MQTT to xLights or Home Assistant to xLights communication through MQTT and xSchedule. So what I wanted to talk to you about first today is I know that xSchedule also uses RESTful or the REST API, right? And forgive me if my terminology is off on some of these. So it has an API. Yeah. So we can, and in Home Assistant, which is what we use, we can, or what a lot of us use, we can send REST API commands, and we can also set a sensor that can receive information through the same means or something similar. And again, I don't understand exactly how it works, so I'm glad you're here to help me with this. But what I'd like to try and start with is in setting up the format for the REST API commands so that we can trigger something from Home Assistant in xSchedule.
Right.
So,
have you ever used Postman?
I have. But Home Assistant has a means for doing that.
Oh, for testing it. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So that's what I want to start with. So let's go in here. Let me open up a Home Assistant window. And I was looking at this.
I'm going to go get my API reference document.
Okay.
I don't remember everything.
Okay, great. I was playing with this the other day, but and so I'm glad you're here to help me out. All right. So we're going to go to Home Assistant.
So MQTT goes both ways. I can both send and receive messages.
And we'll maybe we should do that too. Let's do that too. I want to do the API part because it would be possible then to just cut out the middleman with MQTT, and that's just one less thing to worry about if it's functional, if it's seamless enough. But then the MQTT you can get information from xSchedule and have it sent to Home Assistant through MQTT, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you can go both ways. Yeah.
All right.
And it's like anything, if people have gaps, if it doesn't do something, you just got to speak up and ask.
And you can make it happen.
Yeah, usually.
That's
Not
awesome.
always, but usually.
All right. What's your background, Keith? Are you a programmer by profession?
No, I work in HR in a bank.
No kidding. So this is all hobby for you.
Yeah, this is all hobby.
Oh, that's great. All right. So first thing I got to do is go to my configuration here in Home Assistant. And then I need to add an entry here to create a service for a REST command. So that's what I'm going to do.
Well, I've got a split screen going here where I can see my screen and your screen. How do I get rid of mine so I just see yours?
If you go to...
You can see my screen, right?
Yeah, I can. So here it should be more screen options. Now you've got infinity screens probably. But here where it says more screen options.
More screen options.
Then you can
Sorry.
stop sharing your screen.
Oh, right click. No.
No,
Sorry, show that
if you
again.
just
How'd
hover,
you get
and then a little to the left. There it is.
more screen options? Yeah. Stop
And then
sharing. I
stop
can do that.
sharing.
Or change windows. That's it. Probably. No, that's not it.
Probably stop sharing. If you stop sharing your screen for now, that's probably what you want to do. So that now you should just.
Now I get a green area. I'd show you, but I'd have to share my screen to do that.
Oh, well, I can see it. I wonder why I can see it. Yeah. I wonder why I can see yours. Shouldn't need to.
Screen nitro.
That's weird. Oh, what if you just double click mine? There, yours went away.
Oh God, as simple as that.
Cursed double click.
Okay, now I can read.
Stumped us. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna just copy this here. I'm gonna go to my command, and some of this is that I'm gonna be talking through is to explain for folks that are gonna want to potentially do this on their own. So we're gonna make sure that I don't already have any REST commands. I don't remember for sure. I do have a REST command with Google Backup. Okay, so I'm just gonna make a second REST command. Oh gosh, that's not gonna work. And then I want to not have a second heading there. All right, so it's going to look like this. And then what we're going to call this will be xSchedule and then command. All right. Now here's the first part, Keith, where I'm going to need your help. So what I need here is the URL that these REST commands will need to be contacting. So where do I find that?
So if you're using it on the same machine, obviously you'll be using localhost. But if you're going to be doing it over the network, you'd obviously be referring to the IP address of your machine.
Where
given you're on your local,
is running?
Exactly, that's right. So xSchedule basically has a web server built into it, which is what's dealing with the requests. So it would typically be http:// and then your IP address.
Okay. And it won't hurt if I use my IP address instead of localhost, right?
No, that's fine. It should be fine.
And then is there a port?
That depends on what you've set in xSchedule. So if you go to xSchedule and you go to Edit Options, right, and if you're running multiple things which are web hosts, you can see there, see how it says port 80? So that's the default port. So you're fine, but you can change that to be port 81 or 8080 or whatever you want to use.
And if I, just in case I have anything else that's already on this machine running, listening on 80, I should change it to something else?
Well, I wouldn't change it because it would have told you if it started up and it tried to connect and couldn't get the hold of the port, it would typically tell you, I think. It definitely used to.
If you didn't get a warning, that means you're safe to use that. Okay.
Yeah, usually. But we can test that in a minute. So cancel that. Yep.
Okay.
All right. So now the easiest thing to do is to actually jump into the xLights GitHub repository because there's a document there which has all of the APIs.
I think I was looking at this the other day too.
Yeah.
xLights GitHub.
You just go to xLights.org and you can jump from there. Oh, there it is. Yep. So if you go into the xSchedule folder, so go down. Oh, there you are. Last folder. Yep. And scroll down just there. API documentation.txt. Down. It's alphabetical. Okay, that's it.
All right. You're in Australia, so the alphabet's upside down for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Great.
So there really is only a couple of URLs, but then there's lots of options. So you can ignore the login. Most people would not use that. Then there's the query. So these are the query APIs. So these will go and do things like retrieve back, which playlists exist, which matrices exist, etc. There's a couple of Easter eggs inside xSchedule, so you can play Tetris and Snake on your display.
Oh wow!
So there's APIs in there that support that sort of stuff. But you're probably not going to run on one of these queries, although you may. But this one here, this xSchedule command, this is the one that will tell it to do something. So you want to copy the /xSchedule command all the way to the end.
Okay.
And we're going to have to replace the command and the parameters in your Home Assistant. Yeah.
And then since it's 80, I don't actually have to put the port, correct?
That's right. You don't need to put the port.
Okay. All right.
Yep. All right. So now we need to choose a command. So now what do we want to do? And so the commands are actually plain English. So as they're specified here. So if you want to play a specified playlist, you would you choose the play specified playlist. Don't copy the playlist name, just copy the play specified playlist. Now, and if you replace the command parameter, just the command itself. No, you leave the command equals.
Oh, sorry, this part.
Yeah, that part. Sorry, it's very blurry here. It takes a while to come through. Paste.
You know what I could also do is let's grow this. Let's make this a little bigger.
Yeah, it's probably a bandwidth thing. I'm sitting out in my
gone.
garage.
Oh. Okay.
There,
can you see that a little clearer now?
I can. Now, depending on how this thing works, you may need to replace the spaces with %20s.
Okay. Is that the safer thing to do, or does it?
I would. It's probably a safer thing.
Okay.
Some things like it.
20 and then another %, or just %20 once?
No, just %20. And in the second space after specified, you probably want to make that a %20 as well. Okay, so now if you go across, we've got parameters. Now the parameters should be the name of your playlist. So we have to go back to xSchedule now and see what your playlist name is. So it's Go Blue. So if you want to play Go Blue, you're going to have to put in the parameters Go Blue, and I think it's case sensitive. So yeah.
Okay. So that looks pretty good.
And that looks pretty good.
Okay. Now, let's look at this for a second and see if there's anything else that we need to include here. So it also...
By default, it'll be a get, so that's fine.
That's fine. Okay. We don't need it to be a post.
Yeah, there's only a couple of them that really need to be a post. I think a get's fine.
Okay. So I don't know what headers is or payloads.
Yeah, you don't need any headers or payloads for that matter. There are some APIs there. I mean, xSchedule's API allows you to even send pixel data if you really want to. And in that case, you would need a payload.
Okay, but we're going to keep it simple here. So this should simply run this command. Let's actually, because this already has the playlist.
This is Go Blue. Right, okay, so this is very specific.
Yeah, so we're going to make this Go Blue because what we could do, if we want to get more advanced, is template that part about the playlist, right, and grab it from a list or something in Home Assistant. So that would be something.
Well, and then you could have another API which goes and gets you a list of all the playlists that are available, so forth. Right, that's why the API is so rich.
That's awesome. Okay. All right. So then my next steps here are just going to be to verify that we did this right, make sure we didn't typo anything. So we're going to go here and just verify that I didn't typo anything. Depending on how the URL is processed, it may add those 20%, but if it doesn't, it will fail. Okay. I was just reading some chat here.
All right. Oh, I haven't paid any attention at all.
Neither have I. That's okay. We've been focusing, and we got Will and Mark and Jamie and a couple guys in there doing some business. Okay, good. So that checked out. So now we're going to restart Home Assistant, and that'll take a minute or so for it to come back up. And when it does, we'll get to test it. We'll see if the service is there, and then we'll see if activating the service does what we hope it's going to do. Now, I assume that xSchedule needs to always be running. Correct. So it needs to be started up.
If it's not running, there's no web server, so it's not going to do anything.
Okay. Is that something
you'll get a non-response?
Is that something that can be done kind of in the background of Windows? Can it be a service or something? I don't remember exactly how that works, but so that when it starts up, it automatically starts. Okay.
I'm working on a headless mode, but I haven't finished it yet.
Okay. All right. Cool. I know I use Blue Iris is a security camera NVR that has to be running on Windows, and it has that feature, and it's really convenient because then if the computer restarts or something, you don't have to go in and turn and just click that.
Well,
program.
you can auto start any program. That's not the
Okay.
big deal. The problem is you don't want it cluttering your screen up,
Gotcha.
and that requires it to be headless. And I haven't built it headless.
Okay. I could paste the URL in the browser to test it. Yeah, that's probably what I should have done. Maybe I could still do that. Well, now that I've put it away, I can't. It will know in a minute here. It'll be a full-on test. Thanks again for Keith.
That's why I like Postman, because Postman lets you debug everything. You can see the JSON response. It's kind of nice.
All right. Well, if this fails miserably, then
we'll go there.
We'll go there. You got it. Okay. So now we're going to go to services in Home Assistant, and we're going to see if there is a new service. REST command xSchedule go blue. There it is.
There you go.
Okay.
Right.
So I shouldn't need to do anything here but call the service. So let's go to xSchedule. And do I need to do anything here?
No, you don't need to do anything here.
Okay.
If you move it across a little bit further so we can see the Victor's text on the screens, because when you click on your browser, this is going to disappear behind.
Oh, I got you.
So, yeah, we just want to be able to see it. It should go green and play, hopefully.
Okay, here goes.
There you go.
Yes! That was easy. This is my college football team, if you hadn't picked that up yet. All right.
Okay. To stop it, hit the stop all button at the bottom. You've just paused it, so it's actually still playing. Yeah.
Okay. Great. That was easy.
While we're here, it drove me nuts the other day. See the light bulb in the top left.
Yes.
Don't click it yet. Right. So what there is this is actually a multi-state button. So right now, the fact that it's red tells you that it's off. The gear icon tells you that it's in an auto mode. So when you start the playlist, it actually automatically turns on. So you don't have to keep switching it on and off manually. If you click it once, right, now it's off. So no matter what you do, no matter what you play, it will not output to lights. If you click it one more time, now it's on, which means it's always sending data. So right now it's sending black data to your lights, and it will keep sending forever. And if you click one more time, okay, so you see it went green with the gear, right? And then it went back to red with the gear. So it's back in automatic mode. So if you play that playlist, if you click down on play selected down the bottom left, it'll go automatically green. It goes green with the gear, which means it's on and playing, so it's sending data, but as soon as you stopped it, it turned off again.
Got it. I need to decrease that volume a little bit.
Or if you just click the yellow box, it mutes.
Oh. Everybody's covering their ears in the chat because I blasted them with that, which is great because some of them are fans, but not everybody.
Yeah.
Ultima says, "Let's pretend we all understand what's going on." Are you confused, Ultima? We got you. We got you. We're this is high end, but we got you. All right. Let's see. Paste that URL in this chat for reference. Okay, we'll do. We'll do, Mark. All right. So let's go back here real quick. We're going to open that back up. And then this is... Okay. Oops. I used Control X instead of Control V or C.
C.
Okay, Control V. There we go. I don't know if that's going to help too much there, but that'll do it. And then if we wanted, what Mark's saying is if we took this part here we just copied this. Why is it not letting me copy this?
I'm not sure it's actually selected. I think it's highlighted only because that's where you are.
Okay. That's weird.
It is.
That's weird. All right, let's just see what happens if I... All right, well, I'll have to just delete some of this. I just want to see what happens if we do this.
Yeah, you need to get rid of the quote, but yeah.
But that should do it also, right?
So in theory, this will give you back a tiny piece of JSON saying that it played okay.
There it goes.
Okay,
And
there you
it's
go.
playing.
Result okay.
Dude, we did it. All right, this is easy. All right, stream over. All right. Great. Okay. Well, that is fantastic. And that is really helpful because now with that command, with that line, we can start doing some things in Home Assistant without MQTT even. We can go direct, which is really, really nice. All right. So now, Keith, what else, especially after you saw me fumble around, what else do you see with xLights, or what else would you like to teach?
It's funny what you were saying about Rob. I learned so much about watching people bumble around. It's things that seem obvious, having done it 100 times, aren't so obvious at times.
That's
all right.
the truth.
So you were playing with the event. So xSchedule has two pieces to it, right? It's what happens when it's playing, but then also the ability to listen to external events and react. And you were playing the other day with the event stuff where you're setting up an MQTT event. And if you want to go back into that, let me walk you through the options. So yeah, edit events. All right, you can use one of the existing ones, it doesn't matter. Okay, so as you said the other day, your broker IP and your port are pretty obvious. Your client ID, I believe that's just a unique ID, so it shows up. Your topic can be whatever you want it to be. It doesn't have to be xSchedule event. It can be anything at all. I think I just used xSchedule event as an example. And then the commands are basically, as you saw the other day, are all of those commands inside the API set. And you notice they're exactly the same. There's no difference. Right, so all the
this here
things appear in the list with a couple of exceptions.
Okay.
And then they can be parameterized. So you can do something like set your volume to 10% if you find there's a set volume to. I think it's a little bit
There's
higher
set
up.
brightness.
They're not sorted. They're not sorted.
Oh, they're not in alphabetical order.
No, they're not in any order at all. They're in the order in which I created them, I think. If you scroll up, I think there's a set volume to, and then you can parameterize it, right?
There you go.
So, yep, set volume to. And so this is expecting a number. And so you could put in your payload from your MQTT message, the volume that you want to set.
And so if I do this data like that,
yeah, and then you would include the 10 or 20 or 50 or whatever the volume percentage you want it to be inside the MQTT.
Okay.
And so you change your event to something that maybe made more sense to you, like xSchedule set volume or xSchedule event set volume, whatever.
Something like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
And now, yeah, it's not setting a particular volume, you get to control it.
Great.
Okay. So that's receiving events. Now, what if you want to send an event? What if you want to send an event? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, click OK. Yeah. Let's get out of this and close. All right. Let's add a new playlist. We'll have to make the screen a little bit bigger.
Let's see. Let's get this out of the way. Let me just stretch this out.
Yeah. Okay. So there's our add button. Now, by default, xSchedule is in what I call simple mode. Okay. So when you add a playlist, it's great for adding songs and stuff, but that's all you can. So if we cancel out of that, if you go up and right click on the playlist, either on Go Blue or the one above it, playlist, right. See how it says add advanced playlist? Let's do that.
Okay.
So playlists can be more than just playing songs, right? So if you give this a name.
Advanced. Fred. Okay.
All right. Let's right click on the left hand side there where it says advanced Fred. Okay, these are all the things that can actually happen during a step in your playlist. Right, so it's not just playing songs. You can make a curl request, you can add an MQTT message, in which case it's actually going to send the message.
Okay.
So halfway through your show, or when your show ends, you can set it up so that it sends an MQTT message, and maybe MQTT then causes your lights to go off using your Home Assistant, maybe, or something. So if you add an MQTT there, all right, now you're over here and you get to give it a name and a topic and put your username and password in. And yes, it was a good idea that I should just copy your username and password from where you've used it before. I haven't done that, but I will. That's a good idea. It didn't even occur to me. Right, so here you put in your topic, but you can see that in your topic name, if you want to, you can include things like which song's playing at the moment or something.
Yeah, where'd that go again? I just want to see what current step, next step from MP3 position, current step, name of schedule, current playlist. Okay. Well, so with the topic, let's say I want to, what did you have it as? xSchedule?
Well, no, you'd probably want to use something. Well, you're going to use,
I
this
want
is
to make
something
a
you're going to be
different.
sending out. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
publishing
right.
this.
So this will be a receive. So this will be, honestly, I think I would probably think of this as a sensor.
Yeah, that's exactly how you should think of it. It's like a sensor sending to the MQTT.
Okay. And then we'll go, I don't know how specific we need to get, but we'll say end.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And then the broker and stuff. And then all this. Everybody already has my MQTT password, I suppose. So why bother with it now? Okay. And then data.
You can either hard code the data, you can put hexadecimal values in if you need to, or you can put in references to what's going on.
Can I can't click that, right? I need to type it.
No, you have to type it in. I've never
running playlist. I want to be able to highlight it. I want to be able to highlight it. So
I know you do. All right, that's a good idea as well.
I don't want to give you more work to do, but I'm sure you have a list of things. All right, but I'm going to do running playlist. It's all caps.
Yeah, it's percent.
And then I want to say has ended.
Yeah.
And I think that will send that to me, right? So it'll put the name of the playlist in there and it'll say has ended. What I'm thinking is I'll set this up so that this payload comes to me through Home Assistant as a message on my phone that says, hey, the playlist is over, so that I know that it's over, something like that. It's just for example.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Now, normally at this point, of course, this is not that exciting. This playlist is going to run in a 20th of a second, and the only thing it's going to do is send this message. Normally what you would do is if you come back over to the left-hand side there and you click on the second item down, right, this is a step. So a step can contain multiple items. So at this point, you'd probably right-click and add an FSC queue, such as your Go Blue sequence. So you can have multiple things happen within the same step. The vectors, all right. Now, oh, there it goes. All right. Actually, no. Let's do one more thing. Let's right-click on the vectors and click Add Step. Yeah, that's it. Add Step. It'll be down. Yep. All right. Let's drag the show end down into the second step because this is actually more classically. No, leave the vector. Oh, okay.
Oh, show end.
Yeah,
Oops. Yeah. Is there a Control Z?
No, there's not.
I don't remember where it was. So
just drag it onto show end. Yeah, that's it. And just grab show end and drag it down onto unnamed. Yep, that's it. Okay. All right. So now what will happen is it will play the vectors, and when the vectors is done, it'll go to show end, and then it'll send your notification.
Okay. Cool. What are these other things here?
Okay.
I mean, what do you use in here for some of these?
I don't use a great deal. Some of the more interesting ones, OSC, similar to MQTT, but it's used in the lighting industry for sending commands between things. Projector allows you to control a projector. So if you've got a serial attached projector or one that's controllable over the network, you can turn projectors on and off. RDS allows you to send radio text if you've got a FM radio player that allows you to display the station name or something on someone's car radio. So
Oh,
there's some
cool.
cool things there. Serial lets you send any serial stream out to some serial device that you might have. You might have one of those really old LED boards that requires a serial signal. Those sort of things.
Okay. Well, then I guess for me, for most of us, this is being able to do this with MQTT is pretty awesome.
That's
And
right.
then,
Yeah.
was there API direct stuff in here too, or no?
Oh yeah. So the add curl. So I
Add
don't know
curl.
if you're familiar with curl. Curl's a command line utility on Linux, for instance. And here you can put in any call.
Okay, so that URL. So if I wouldn't want to do it in this particular playlist because we've already, this is already
Sure.
got MQTT
Sure,
stuff.
but yeah, but this would go off and make a web call to some website.
Right. So that URL that we created with the API command, you could just post that in here. Put that in its URL, and that would work. But you don't want to, like I said, in this, but that's how it could happen.
Right, but you might call an API on something else that you've got that's got an API. So
Okay.
a lot of people use this to call. They might have a website which shows people what songs playing, and they'll make a web request to their website, and it'll update their website with whatever the current song.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can just delete that one. And click OK. And save. Click the disk icon to save it. Yeah. Perfect.
Awesome.
So if we play that, hopefully your Home Assistant will see that message.
And then let's subscribe to that topic in Home Assistant.
Do you remember what it was?
I made it too complicated. Let's see here. Okay, MQTT. And then I'm going to listen to a topic, and the topic was xSchedule. And then sensor. And then
was it
end?
I think that was it. Maybe.
All right, so we're going to listen to that, and then we're going to go back to xSchedule, and we're going to run this playlist, right?
Yeah, we have to click on Advanced
Fred, and then we hit Play Selected.
And then hit Next Step, and we'll just jump to it and see it get sent. We don't have to wait 35 seconds. All right. Did it hear it? What would I expected to see?
I should have seen something under here, I think. I should have seen something under here. Let's go back in here and make sure that I had that right.
If you just double click on it now, it'll show it. Yeah. xSchedules. The IP address, is the IP address right?
No. That's the problem. .1.71.
No. It's not right either.
No.
It's still not right.
Oh, that's not right. 192.168.1.71. That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
And save. And save.
Okay. And save. So anytime that disk is red, it means you haven't saved it yet.
That's right.
Okay. Now, let's do it again. We're listening to that topic there in Home Assistant. So we're going to play this. We're going to skip the actual playing. We're going to go to the next step, and there it is.
Oh,
we did it.
Yeah.
Advanced Fred has ended. And so I could take that now for the Home Assistant talk part of this. I could take that and make that payload. You could do it to read out loud over Amazon Echo or Google Home or something that says blah blah, the playlist ended, or it started, whatever you wanted to change things to. You could send it on the phone and say, hey, this ended, or you could trigger another event with it. So like you said, it shuts off the other lights outside or does other things. So very cool. Excellent. Okay. I'm
just impressed it worked. I think I spent all of half a day on MQTT.
Yeah, you did it perfectly. You did it great. I saw some videos. Where did I see a video that you put together about
I have a
your
YouTube
release
channel.
notes. Okay, where is it?
Yeah.
What's how do I find you? I probably subscribed to you already.
It's probably Keith SW 1111.
So catchy.
Yeah, works for me. You'd be no
Oh.
1111.
Oh, one too many. Not enough. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, they're not actually mine. That's ACL. That's the
Oh,
Christmas light community here in Australia. My handle there is also. You can see me.
so you're in this. Okay, so
I presented all of those.
channel.
Just type xLights. It'll probably come up. There you are. There I am.
Okay, there you are. And I am subscribed. You see that?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good. I need more subscribers. I got hardly
Yes,
any.
you do. Yeah.
So yeah,
All
if you
right.
go to videos, there's I put out a video. I haven't done it as a release yet, but every time there's a release, I sort of bunch them all up and I do a release video. I also do seminars. So there's one coming up on, oh God, it'll be, I guess, the Saturday, the 4th, I think it is. I'll be doing a seminar. I always do one at the beginning of the year for people that are new to the hobby and want to get the lowdown on how to get started. And I typically do one in September, often on xSchedule, although last year's wasn't, where I go through and talk through all the features. And so there's advanced versions and simple versions and all sorts of things in there.
Fantastic. I believe I watched this one. As you can see the red line here, I think I watched this one because somebody had pointed out that that you had added MQTT in that version, and so I found this version, this release update, and then when I went through and looked for where you had mentioned the MQTT, and it was enough to get me confident to say, okay, I think I got the parts I need from this. Let's give it a try.
Yeah.
So down here towards the end is where you were talking about some of this stuff, and you really kind of it wasn't.
I breezed through it, right? I go through it real fast. Because there's so much to get through.
That's okay.
I mean,
and you don't.
We've had 71 releases this year. It changes.
Crazy. That is crazy. But anyways, I'm glad that I found this because it did help me, even though it was brief. It helped me enough to say, oh, okay, we can do this. Like this is what we need. And from there, that was what kind of kicked off that stream from the other night that you joined up in. So perfect. All right. Let's if there's anything else you have that we can go through, that'd be great. Or let's see if there's anybody with questions for you in the chat here. Let's just see if there's any of our moderators want to highlight some chats. There's Hookup Rob. Keith had mentioned that xSchedule can work with FPP.
Yeah, it absolutely can, because FPP and xSchedule aren't mutually exclusive. They obviously overlap significantly. They're not entirely overlapping. Obviously, FPP has a whole bunch of features that allow it to act as a controller, and it's also, a lot of people like to use it for running video on projectors that are well away from the house or whatever, and they don't want to put a computer out there, and so FPP is a great solution. There's a couple of ways in which you can interact with FPP. By far the most common is if you go to the modes menu. xSchedule has the concept of master and remote, and so xSchedule can add as a master, and you would typically use the Multicast FPP. And what that does is every second approximately, yeah, I'd turn it off. I wouldn't turn it on. What it will do is it will send out a packet on the network to basically tell any FPP devices that this is the song that I'm playing and this is where I'm up to. And the FPPs will then synchronize with that and will show whatever content they have that should be shown at that point in time in the show. And so they all synchronize together, basically. It's the same mechanism that the FPPs use to synchronize with each other. It's just xSchedule integrates with them. The other thing that it does with FPP is FPP has a concept of events. And just as you saw with MQTT, xSchedule's able to both listen to events that might be sent out from an FPP, but it can also transmit events to an FPP, which can again trigger a local activity or whatever. And you would do that. So you'd set up events, just like you set up MQT events using edit events, and you'd add an FPP event, or you would set up an advanced playlist and you would add an FPP event, which would send it out to an FPP.
Okay. And then Rob follow-up says, his issue with xSchedule is that my always-on PC is too far away from his FM transmitter to be effective, so he'd need FPP to run the audio, and it doesn't sound like that's possible.
Yeah, no, and there's a good reason why not. It's not that technically it can't do it. In fact, xSchedule, I've had people run many xSchedules on little Linux boxes. The problem with running audio on the remote is that when the synchronization is working, it's sending a packet every second, and when that packet arrives, whether it's FPP or xSchedule has to decide what to do, because typically the song is either slightly ahead or slightly behind. And so and with xSchedule, you can set a certain jitter factor, which says if it's out by this much, then do something. But if it's less than this much, then we'll just accept it. It's okay. But what you find is the audio starts to sound really scratchy because you get all of these micro jump forwards or jump backs, etc. And so it sounds really, really poor. So that's why the master has to be the thing that's playing the audio. But that's okay. What you do is you set that device there as the master and run xSchedule as a remote. If you look at the remote menu just below it, you can have xSchedule sit there and listen for FPP events. And so yeah, you just need to set that FPP as the master and your xSchedule as the remote, and it should be fine.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. I'm sure that is helpful. Now, a couple things that came up in questions, and it reminded me of what we had said we were going to talk about before, and that's Unicast versus Multicast. You want to expound on that for us? For us with the underpowered controllers?
So yeah, look, there's unfortunately the answer is not as simple as people would like it to be. Unicast sounds like a good idea because obviously under Unicast you're sending data typically just to the device that needs to receive it, and so that sounds like a really, really efficient way to set up your network. And generally, if you're using a wired controller, we would always recommend that you set it up in Unicast, because why do you want all the other devices on your network to hear what's going on when the only thing that really needs to hear it is the device that it's targeted for? The problem with Unicast is that basically it's kind of a guaranteed connection, and so your Wi-Fi access point is trying to guarantee that the packet was received, whereas with multicast it doesn't. And so what people find is if they use Unicast on Wi-Fi devices, your Wi-Fi slows down to the reception rate of the slowest device. And so if you've got a device that's a long way away, your network tends to slow down to the speed that that device can receive. And remember, Wi-Fi, although your Wi-Fi may say it's a certain speed, the connection to an individual device varies depending upon the reception that it receives. So you can see how your Wi-Fi network slows down as it becomes worse. And the problem is you go and build a Christmas light display, particularly one that's big and impressive, and unfortunately you attract a whole bunch of people with these little devices in their pocket, which are really noisy on the Wi-Fi spectrum. And so your network gets even worse as your show gets better. and that's why Unicast and generally Wi-Fi controllers in general I'm not a big fan of. They're great in a normal situation, but they're just not good in Christmas shows. It's also why multicast is generally better, because when you do multicast, two things happen. One is multicast is not a broadcast. On a wide network in most home routers, it is. But on the Wi-Fi network, what happens is the Wi-Fi device actually reaches out to the switch and says, "I'm interested in hearing this." Or actually, no, that's not true either. It does get broadcast out and it does listen for it, but at the end of the day, because it's not a connection-based protocol, it doesn't wait to hear back from the device that it received the packet before it moves on to the next one, and so the packet can be lost. But that's better than everything in the network slowing down, waiting for those packets to be received. You get a lot of lag.
So if in the situation with multicast, if I guess it doesn't like overwhelm controllers that don't need the message that it's sending, right?
If you send lots of it, it can overwhelm the network, right? So you definitely don't want to be sending thousands of these packets or even hundreds of them. But if you've got a half dozen of these, sending a half dozen packets multicast over the network's not going to overwhelm anything.
Okay.
Your ESPs are going to deal with that, and it's quick enough to know that it can throw away a packet doesn't need.
I guess the way it's going to have to be on an individual basis that you can use multicast if you don't have a problem. Great, but if you're over broadcasting or something, if you've got too many of these controllers, then maybe you'll start to run into a problem, and you'd have to go to Unicast. In that case, just make sure that the reception on each of your controllers is good, because you're going to be limited by whatever the worst connection is.
That's right. But the problem is what works well in the shop is not necessarily what's going to work well once you get it out into your yard.
Yeah.
And when everyone starts to queue up, and now you've got all those phones broadcasting in the same spectrum, that's when it starts to really slow down. And that's why I would never recommend anyone who runs any sort of size show to go with, go in one device here or there just for that one prop that it makes sense to do. Fine, no big deal. But you definitely don't want to be doing them all over the place.
If you're gonna go for the big stuff, then you're gonna want to use some wired controllers with a bit more horsepower. And that makes sense.
There are some experimental protocols which are a bit better. Part of the problem is the E130 protocols are really, really inefficient. A network packet is about 1,500 bytes. Of that, only 512 bytes is actually data in an E131 packet, and then there's 126 bytes of header information, of which about 3 bytes are used. So you're sending a lot of unnecessary data across the network. There is a protocol called DDP, which the Falcon Pi player supports, as does xLights. It's much more efficient. It packs all the data very densely into the network packets. Its header is only 10 bytes in size, of which pretty much everything's useful. The downside of DDP is that it is unicast only. And then there's an experimental protocol that we've been working with, something that we've created called ZCPP. And what ZCPP will do is it'll actually configure the controller on the fly. So it gets rid of the need to actually configure your controller at all. And little sticks do support it, because I know I wrote it, and Shelby accepted it onto the firmware. And the Falcon controller is supported as well. But
what is that one called? Sorry, is that a what?
ZCPP, or as you probably know, it's ZCPP.
Z. I can translate Australian.
Yeah.
So this is cool. So the way that a lot of us, me included, got into this was because we wanted some lights that would do some things, but not, didn't have to be too big and involved. And so not long ago, we found a controller software that would let you do simple things. If you wanted to do simple things, you could just turn on a pattern, maybe change the colors a little bit, and it had E131. And so I
saw that. That's wLED, right?
Yeah, that's right. So
I saw that. And he's got in his GitHub, I noticed he's created his own ticket to implement DDP.
Oh, good. Excellent. That's what I was hoping.
But not ZCPP yet, at least. ZCPP is, like I said, a protocol we came up with, so I doubt he's even heard of it.
Right. Okay. Great. Well, that's good news. I'm glad that he's already heard about that. Then, fantastic. Dr. Zed. Dr. Zed. Did you? Now, you didn't get to benefit from some of these jokes in the chat, but I will read them to you. Did you see some of this? Or not? No. So when we were talking about Unicast versus multicast, Rob pipes in and says, I want to read it Well, I know what he said because I remembered it. He said, "This is a UDP joke. I don't care if you get it." And then somebody else responded with, "I get that, or maybe I didn't." That's nerd.
Yeah.
That's nerd. That's nerd humor at its best. All right. Awesome,
Indeed.
man.
But I agree with you. I mean, I listen to you moan about, universes and channels and everything else, and it's incredibly confusing. There's a video that one of the xSchedule guys did that talked about football stadium seating, and explains universes and channels in a really, really clever way.
Oh, that's great.
Where he talks about, well, imagine if you go into a stadium and every seat had a unique number, but it was just a unique number, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 70,000 or whatever,
Ah,
and how hard it would be to find your seat. And then you break things up into sections, which is all the universes are. It's just a way to break it up. But I remember when I first got into this hobby, and I went along to one of the conferences. I had one in Sydney here, and I sat there and I listened to this guy talk about stuff, and he was talking about these universes and channels. I think it was my second year where I finally put up my hand and said, "Guys, I don't get it. What the hell is a universe?"
I'm so glad it's not just me.
Oh, it's not just you, and that's why we wrote ZCPP, right? Because ZCPP gets rid of entirely the concept of channels, star channels, and the like. You just
Oh,
don't
wow.
need to worry about them. Everything's done automatically behind the scene, and your controller's just configured on the fly. What happens is, as soon as you turn on to output to lights, what happens is xLights every second sends out a packet to the controller that says you should be configured this way. And so that way, as you're in xLights changing your layout, it's reconfiguring your controller as you go.
Wow. Well, that's exciting. That's something. I know there's no way to really know. This is a small, it's a relatively small project when you think about some things, but timeline for that to be sort of more
Oh, it's out.
mainstream.
It's out. It
Really?
came out last year. Like I said, the Falcons. That's it. There's a few people
Okay.
running it this year in their shows on the Falcons. Will FPP ever support it? That's the $1,000,000 question. The lead developer of FPP is not a bigger fan. He kind of likes DDP. So we'll see if he ever comes around.
Yeah. Well, good. Awesome. All right. What else we got going on in chat there? This has been perfect, Keith. This has been perfect. I got probably a few more minutes that I can hang out before we gotta get ready and run for my boys' deal. But this has been a great discussion. I think we accomplished what I wanted to accomplish for sure. Got some great information. The guys in chat have been helping each other out, and I think they're making fun of us a little bit for ignoring them, but that's perfect. I could not have drawn this up any better. So
I've totally ignored them.
That's great.
Which is
That's
funny
okay.
because I was frustrated the other day when you were ignoring me.
Because I was ignoring it. So I think I've been streaming like this for over a year, and I've gotten better at it. But boy, when I was first doing it, I would try so hard to address every single chat line, and that was how the squirrel thing came up. Like, I've got these little squirrels that pop up on the screen because and I would jump around topics from, somebody would ask a question, I'd get halfway done answering it, and I'd answer somebody else's question, and it would just, and I would be exhausted after like an hour. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to lay down. This is killing me. So it's evolved a bit, and one of the only ways to do it is you gotta ignore some of it. And but we got great people here that are helping with all that too. So anyways, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Look, it's interesting. It's been interesting to see the crossover as the home automation folks have found Christmas lighting and showed up with their wLED controllers and everything else. And
I thought that was funny. And you said, we got a lot of these new people showing up, and they got all these underpowered controllers. And I said, oh, that might have had something to do with that. Sorry about that. It's funny too. Here's another, that wasn't the first time even when I first started using Home Assistant, and we had, I was putting out some videos and say, hey, I figured out how to do this thing, and here's how you do, or here's how I did it. And then that would be great. But then somebody would try and try and take that further, somebody brand new and would try and take that further, and they'd get all confused, and then they'd go to the Home Assistant forums and they'd go like, I don't know what to do. DrZzs told me how to do this thing and I can't figure it out. And they were talking to me like, hey man, can you help us help these people that you're bringing in here? So that's the way I roll, I guess. But yeah, it's fun.
Fortunately, most of the support functions or most of the groups are pretty good. Newbies are reasonably welcome. I mean, people have usual frustrations about people that don't search for things, but most of the time people are helping. And as in Zoom, there's always guys in there, and those guys have got patience of say, right? Seriously, some of the people that show up, and some of the people that I've seen get a show up and running that really, in any other technical hobby would have no chance. It's amazing, and it's so great to see it. That moment, right? You're in Zoom, and there's someone there, and they've got this controller, and they don't know what they're doing, etc. And the light on, and they're like a schoolboy. It's sort of giddy and excited, and it's great to see.
That's great. Well, what a fun time. So, I guess let's. I'm gonna be back on in about an hour and a half. Frank's here. Frank's saying, what have I missed? We did, Frank,
Nothing.
Remember? Yeah, nothing. I don't know what you missed. I wasn't paying attention. So Frank actually, what we did, what we were talking about. So Frank is a guy for you, Keith, who does a lot of the Home Assistant integration stuff. So he has been really helpful in the Home Assistant world with getting other things integrated. So he took like the wLED API and created an integration for Home Assistant. So again, we could bypass MQTT and just have it communicate directly. And he's done that with tons of different things. He's kind of a master of those things. So when I saw that you had an API for xLights, or for xSchedule, I guess technically, I went to him right away and I was like, hey, what can we do with this? And so we started playing with it. But to tell you, Frank, we got it working. And we got it working on the first try. We just made a simple, I guess, would you call it a CURL? We made a URL with the right format, and we're able to start a show playing on my lights from Home Assistant like that. So it was awesome. And then we looked at how you can get information through MQTT, which you could also do the same thing with the API stuff, right? With the HTTP, you could get information into Home Assistant from there.
You can query for information, or like I say, you can have it publish events during playlist playing. It doesn't. That's actually true. There's some interesting events. So xSchedule has some events like when the lights turn on, you can trigger an event which you can then choose to play a playlist which sends something to Home Assistant and things like that. So if someone went and manually turned on, you'd know. There's lots of options. Yeah. Seriously, you could spend a week on it. In fact, I spend 2 days on it. I go to the States for the Christmas Expo, which this year is in July in Vegas, and we'll be running a 2-day training course for people on xLights, xSchedule, etc.
So wait, tell me about this. Let's publicize this. I'm not far from Vegas. I grew up in Vegas. I cannot imagine why anybody would want to go there in July, but as long as you don't leave the hotel, I guess you're fine.
I assure you, it's cooler than it is here. So.
But right now, probably for you?
Yeah, it was meant to be 47 the other day.
Ooh, gosh. It's 47 here too, but it's Fahrenheit.
Yeah, I know. It's a slightly different scale. Yeah, no, look, Christmas Expo is a conference that's been running for many years. It's a gathering basically of people of all races and creeds using all different sorts of sequences and technology. And they run it's a 3-day conference full of classes, and before the main conference there's also training sessions, and we run, Sean, me and the lead of the project and I, the last 2 years have run a 2-day training before the conference where we basically do deep dives. We run 2 rooms. We run an advanced room and a beginner's room because we know that we're going to get a whole bunch of people at different skill levels. I spend 2 days basically talking for 8 hours a day, going through all of the features of xLights and xSchedule, etc. It's a great time.
Oh, that sounds like fun. Another hookup question. He says, can you ask Keith if it has a tele option where you can just get a massive JSON back that we could pull information from?
There is a status query, yes, which returns back everything about what's currently going in xSchedule. Postman's better for this, but if you scroll up, you see get playing status. So if you take that API up, let's take that one there and paste it into your browser, and we'll get playing status. So yeah, grab line 14.
Not this one.
No, line 14. Yep,
Okay.
that one. I'll grab that one, copy it, whack it into a browser.
And then we got to fix
It's not going to say much, but yeah.
Right.
Just localhost or whatever.
Okay, localhost will work. Do I need a dot or just localhost one word?
No, just localhost, one word. And change the query to get playing status, or one word. Capital G, capital P.
And capital S?
Yep. And get rid of the parameters in angle brackets at the end. Yeah.
Just this part? Or...
blank. Yeah. Yep.
And no spaces here?
Yeah, I think that's all right.
20s?
I think that's right.
Okay. There it is.
There it is.
Okay. Here you go, Rob.
And not only that,
if
you connect over a web socket, it will actually return that every second. So you'll get an update every second automatically without even having to ask.
There you go. Smart people can do some good stuff with that, I'll bet. Awesome. Oh, baby. We'll work with that in Node-RED today. All right, sweet. Rob, that's exactly what he needed. Perfecto. Okay. Well, hey, let me see. I'm going to grab some monkeys. I'm going to grab some kids to come up and say bye with us. Tell everyone it's time for sign-off. We're going to go today, and then we'll be back in a couple hours with Rob doing some Node-RED. My kids are going to come run up here. Did you see the end of the stream? I was in the stream with my kids. They come up and they say bye.
I've seen it a few times.
Yeah. Let's run we'll do a one giveaway here. I just want to get going. I don't want to be too late here. What's today? 22. 1. All right.
That's mine.
Ooh, that's cold. All right, you guys can enter in there if you want. And I've offered Keith stickers multiple times. He says he doesn't need them. I don't know. It's okay.
Yeah,
I'll think of something else.
Why are you still in your clothes?
Think of something else because I got to go to Jackson's thing here in about 10 minutes.
Oh wow!
Yep, they'll all pop in there.
Thousands.
And then somebody asked Keith about fires. You guys having some troubles over there with fires?
Yeah, around Sydney, I think we've burnt more land area than, is it Virginia or something? I don't know. It's huge. The fires have been burning for a month now. They had on the news the other day, I think a bunch of Canadians have shown up to relieve our firefighters because they've just been going.
Oh, man. That's awful. Is it mostly, I mean, it's unpopulated area, I assume, out in the brush?
We've had a few deaths. A fireman died the other day. A tree fell on the truck, and there's been a number of homeowners who have died defending their houses as well.
Well, that's sad. We'll keep you in our thoughts and hope that everything gets better. That's awful. All right. Are you girls ready?
Only the girls today.
Only the girls today. And this is, for those asking about my tie, this is my Christmas tie. I actually have a couple of these. I have one that has Santa Claus putting coal in the stockings.
Why?
I like that one. And then I have one that has Santa in a hot tub with a bunch of reindeer. That was a fun one.
That one. I love that one.
But my boys wear my ties, and so sometimes they wear them and they don't come out. Anyone who has benefited using xLights, please donate, Jamie says, and I concur. Please do. Please do. All right. Let me move the microphone away here and let the girls come in. All right, who's going to do it? We're going to do one sticker this time. We're going to do one sticker this time, and we'll do one in the afternoon.
It says coal is money.
No LEDs on the tie. Coal is money. That's true, actually. Should 3D print a bow tie? That would be a good, Dave. Why no? Good question. You know why this tie doesn't have lights in it? Because if I could find a date. Oh, stop. Jackson's wrong. Sorry. This tie is probably older than. Oh, it's definitely older than any of my kids. Okay, ready. Who's gonna pick? Who's gonna pick?
Robot.
Are you the robot? Okay,
Robot.
robot. Pick the drum roll. Pick the drum roll.
Name's always doing it.
Do it.
Sorry, Dad.
We're gonna do it one time right now, and then nope, it didn't do. You gotta press it again. Press it again. Okay.
Don't do it hard.
All right, Nigel. Nigel wins. Congratulations, Nigel. All right, we're gonna close this for now. We'll open it back up again later, so anybody that was on is not gonna have to enter again. And that's it. Let's do sign up. No, we're gonna leave that one open and we're gonna redo it because we're gonna be back on in an hour and a half and do a second half. Yeah, we are. Okay, so you want to sign off like a robot? Is that what Holly said?
Yeah.
Okay. Signing off like robots. Ready?
Oh, wait.
1, 2, 3. As always, thanks for watching. Until next time, adios. Okay. Good job, girls. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here, Keith. Thanks again, my friend. So happy to have your help, and that'll be fun. I would love to get down to Vegas this summer and shake your hand. That'd be really cool. So we'll see if we can make it happen.
All right.
Bye.
Okay. Have a good morning, evening, whichever, and we'll see you around.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.